I'm so grateful to have you here on this Memorial Day weekend as we honor those who gave all for the freedom of our country.
It's a very powerful weekend. It's a lot more than just mattress sales and the kinds of things, new car sales. What it really is honoring those who have sacrificed so much, lost their lives in combat or in the line of duty at least. The veterans cemeteries, 141 of them, are going to be packed this weekend. Thankfully, we won't have to wear masks in most states. And I look at those and remember back to when I was a kid. My brothers and I would pile into the pickup trucks with all the Boy Scouts in town. Everybody would get a handful of flags, and we'd put a flag on every single veteran's grave in the cemeteries in this little upstate New York town. Then we'd parade down Main Street. The high school band would play, and we'd go to the baseball field, and the politicians would give mercifully brief speeches, and then there'd be a baseball game and a cookout. I mean, it's that kind of memory that I have, my brothers and I all have, and I hope that there's Americans elsewhere around the country celebrating this weekend just like that.
When you were that Boy Scout in upstate New York doing that, I doubt you looked forward and had any idea that one day you would be in combat in Vietnam, the jungles of Southeast Asia, fighting not only for our country, but literally fighting for your life. There must be times looking back, and especially when you go to the wall and see the names of those you served with, that Memorial Day is a very painful day as well, a day to remember those that you were shoulder to shoulder with. They didn't come home.
I just, a few weeks ago, got to send the wall, the mobile wall, the wall that heals, on its way around to 20 states, 26 cities, none of the major metropolitan areas. And on that wall are some very, very dear friends that lost their lives, guys who graduated just before me at the academy and some just afterwards. I look at that and I remember those guys, particularly the night of the 28th of July, 1969, worst night of my life. It took me years before I could go visit the wall in D.C., and I do that every year. I try to make sure that it gets over this Memorial Day weekend. But the bottom line of it is the recognition that this country does for those who perished in service to our country is a very, very special moment for Americans. And we're still the only country on earth that will send its sons and daughters as volunteers around the globe to protect our country and offer others the hope of freedom.
You've written over 18 best-selling books. The latest one is called Veterans Lament. What is that book going to tell the reader? Because obviously, when you write that many best-selling books, this is one people are going to want to get from Colonel North. What will they learn?
Well, they'll learn that we interviewed 500 people. Now, it was 2 Marines who wrote the book, and it's not picking on any particular service. 500 veterans of service to our country, going all the way back, in some cases, to the Vietnam War, and coming right up to the current conflict that is finally ending. When we interviewed these people, it was before the election. And yet, many of the issues that we now see happening to this country, turning the military, for example, into a social justice warriors, that kind of thing was on the minds of those who we interviewed. And these veterans looked at what's happening in our country, spiritually, politically, economically, militarily, and they voiced their concerns. Is this the country that I fought for? And many of them are now saying, as we're going back and re-interviewing some and interviewing some other new ones, this is something really different today than it was when we signed up to fight. And I'm not entirely sure that many of them would still send or encourage their sons, daughters to go off and serve in this, quote, new era of political correctness.
Colonel, is it possible to get the military back on track and to stop this trend of politicizing and weaponizing our great military institutions and having them, once again, a meritocracy where the cream truly rises to the top?
It is possible. And what's going to happen is that, God willing, in 2022, the American people will say it's enough is enough, and they're going to appoint or elect, rather, Republicans to public office.
Colonel, I want to say thank you. It's always a pleasure to visit with you. And to our audience, the book that we've been talking about is called Veterans Lament. It is available right now everywhere books are sold. And you can also find the Colonel online at olivernorth.com, as well as social media at Oliver L. North.